Hello and welcome to my channel Joanne Seal, where I show you how to make and create beautiful things. And today we will be making these gorgeous standing hearts. So first of all, take an A4 sheet of watercolor paper and divide it in half. Then take one of the halves and divide that one in half. So you'll have 3 pieces of paper. Cut that one in half and you'll have 3. And now I want you to take one of the smaller pieces, fold that in half, and I want you to draw half of a heart. Make sure you don't go too close to the edge. I went a little bit too close on this one, but keep it slightly in from the edge. And once you're happy, you can cut it out. And then you have a heart, which you will use as a template. So on the other smaller piece of paper, draw around it. And we're going to paint that with watercolor pencils. And now mark half way in. And mark it slightly into the paper, and then place the heart kind of in the middle but not quite, and then draw around that heart as well. So now we're going to cut the 2 curves of the heart, of one of the hearts, with a craft knife and a craft mat. And then score the halfway mark that you marked in pencil. And then you'll use this to fold it over, and that's how it stands up. And that's why we didn't want to make the heart too close to the edge, because we want a little bit of space for the fold. I'm just tidying up the heart with a pair of scissors. Now I'm using a Prismacolor pencil, which is a normal coloured pencil. It's not watercolor, and I'm just going to use this to mark around the edge of the heart, so we can still see it once we've added watercolor pencil. And do it on both the hearts. Use a red, but use a dark red so it shows up. Now we're going to get our lovely watercolor pencils, and today I'm using 3 different brands, and the first one is my favorite, which is the Caran d'Ache. I think these are super color and they're the best in the world. And the next one is a Faber-Castell, and this is an Inktense. This is more of an ink watercolor pencil. It's a bit different to the others. It's very clear, it's very transparent. I'm making a very light centre with a fleshy coloured. If you don't have this colour, use anything that's light and pinkish. And then I'm using magenta. My pencil needs sharpening. I'm using a mechanical pencil sharpener, which is the best. The lead doesn't break as much and you get a very, very sharp point. And I'm using different coloured purples and pinks in the centre. And now around the outside I'm using the very creamy Caran d'Ache red, and it's okay to go over the edges of this one because we're going to cut it out, but the other one that's attached to the card, that has to be quite neat. So I'm using my Inktense pencil, which is an ink watercolor pencil. It's clear. It's really nice actually. Now starting in the middle, I'm using a wet paintbrush that's been dipped in water, and I'm activating the watercolor pencil from the inside to the outside. And try to do that whenever you paint these hearts. Start in the middle and then work your way out. So once again I'm using a light pink in the center, a magenta or fuchsia, I think this one's called, and then a purple, and then working my way up to a red. This is a Faber-Castell red, which is more of a blue red, and the Caran d'Ache red is I would say it's a true red. It's not orangey, it's not blue, it's just, I call it a true red. And I'm using some more Inktense now, the lovely ink watercolor pencil. So starting in the middle, wetting it from the middle, then working the way out, so it stays quite light in the center. And we're doing that because we're going to put a different color in the center, so it needs to be clear, sort of clear. So being careful not to go out too far over the edge, as I've done that on this occasion. Now leave these to dry. That'll take maybe an hour, maybe, depends how warm your place is. So now I'm using a yellow to go over that center bit, and that's to show a warm heart. I wanted to make a warm heart, so it's yellowish in the middle, and then around that I'll be using my reds and purples. So just adding a bit more depth of colour to go with the yellow. So activating that from the centre outwards, and we don't need to be so careful. Just make sure you can still see your coloured pencil lines for when we're cutting it out. And making the centre yellow again for the warm heart, and then magenta or fuchsia in the Inktense around that, and some red around that. So we're deepening the colour, making it richer. So now activating it from the centre outwards, and keeping within the lines. Don't go over the lines in this one. At the top it's okay. So now these will dry, and then we'll continue. So they're nice and rich and coloured now. So now I'm taking a red, and I'm going to add a little bit of colour to the card below the heart. So I'm scribbling some on the desk, and I'm going to add water to that and use it as a paint. And you can use watercolour pencils in that way as well. You don't, maybe you shouldn't scribble it on your desk, you should use a palette, but I don't mind scribbling it on the desk, and then just dabbing some light colour across the card. And we'll do that several times. So now I'm cutting out one of the hearts. I'm using a pair of scissors with long blades. And that's important because you want to get a continuous curve with the cut, so it doesn't look too jaggy, and always keep moving the paper as you're cutting, and that produces a nice round shape. If you keep starting and stopping with a smaller pair of scissors, it can look a bit jaggedy. So now I'm drawing a line inside the heart. So I'm following the shape of the heart, but I'm drawing a line in purple. I think it's about 1/2 inch width, and make sure you keep the width the same along the whole of the shape that you draw. And now make a little slit right at the bottom there, and then we're going to cut all the way round, keeping it a continuous strip of coloured paper, because this we'll be using as part of the design, and it needs to be intact, so try to make it continuous so you've got this shape basically. So that's great. So now I'm going to deepen the colour. I'm going to make it a different colour. I'm making it more purple, so that there's a little bit of contrast in the pieces that we add to make up. It's a dimensional heart, so I wanted to make parts of it stand out, and because this will be a different colour, it will contrast slightly. So now I'm activating that. A little bit of water, and I'll leave that to dry. So now I'm going to, I've dipped my pencil in some water, and I'm going around the edges with it. The side of the pencil along the edge of the heart. And I'm slightly darkening the edges of this heart as well, so that it sort of forms a little bit of a border of a darker colour. So those pieces are almost ready. There's still a few things we need to do. So I'm just adding a bit more paint. So I've scribbled the watercolor paper onto the watercolor pencil onto the desk, and I'm using various colours and using a paintbrush to dab those onto the card or the stand. I'm adding a bit more red, making it nice and pink, and then some more magenta colour as well. So with this piece, I'm going to go around the edges with a pencil that's been dipped in water, and just using the edge of the lead, the coloured lead, just taking it across the edge of the shape in order to hide that white edge of paper. It's quite important that you do this because it makes a real difference to the finished design. It looks a bit more cohesive, let's say. You don't have a white edge around everything, which can be a bit jarring. So that's dry now, and I'm going to glue the two bits at the bottom together so that the heart sort of pops out in a little bit of a V shape. So I'm just using some art glitter glue, and I just use this little skewer as my glue stick, and just put the two sides together and hold it, and then the shape becomes more dimensional. It sort of lifts up like a wing or a V shape. And I'm just cutting these little edges off so that it's neater. So now I'm going to add some glue. I'm going to make some shapes with glue on the heart that's on the stand. And this will be then covered in glitter. You don't need to do this, it's just that I love glitter and I want to add some glitter details. Oh, there's a little drop of glue there, but it's okay. This will be underneath everything. The glitter will just shine through all the layers. But you don't need to use glitter. You could add detail in any way that you want. You could draw it. So this is my glitter. You could use a metallic pen. You just leave it plain. I'm just shaking on lots of glitter. Nice and shiny. And I'm using a piece of printer paper now to capture the excess glitter. So it's really important to do this, otherwise the glitter will just go everywhere. So once you've captured it, you can fold this in half and get your glitter pot and then try to pour it back in. And some does escape, but the majority of it does go back into the pot. And then you can dispose of the paper. I'm just using a dry paintbrush to just remove some bits of glitter that have stuck to the card. They haven't stuck, they've just sort of fallen onto the card. So that's clear now. And I can remove those from the desk. So now that's done. I'll leave that to dry. And now I'm going to add the strip that we made. That's how it will look. So I'm going to add some glue with my skewer, my glue stick. Improvised glue stick, just in the center bits, because we want the bits at the side, the wings, to pop up. So just hold that in place for as long as you need to. The glue I'm using, the art glitter glue, it dries really quick. It holds really quickly. It still takes a while to dry, but you only need to hold it down for a short while for it to hold. Now I'm just going around the heart that's on the card with a red pencil that's been dipped in water just to hide the white edges again. See the glitter peeping through now. So now I'm just folding up the edges of this heart and I'm going to fix it to the card. And both the pieces I've added, I've fixed them so that they align at the bottom. bottom points, they're all aligned. So now I'm just adding some more activated watercolor pencil to the card, just to give it a bit more depth and color. It's a really nice way to paint with watercolor pencils as well. They're so versatile, you can do so much with them. I don't think a lot of people realise that you can use them in many different ways, or that you can practically use them to paint anything. So there you have it. That will dry now. And this is one I made earlier, and as you can see I made a little strap to go on the inside. And that's important because that helps it to keep upright, for it to stand up. And I just made that with printer paper. This is the one we've just made, and it might have a tendency to do that, which is why we make that little strap. So get some printer paper, just mark off about 3 inches and cut that out. And then we're going to fold up the two ends in the same direction, so they're folded in the same direction. So we have that sort of shape. And now I'm going to add a little bit of glue to each of those folded tabs, and then place it inside the card. So just dab a little bit of glue and then fix it to the card like that at the bottom, and then hold it. You can bend it inwards, hold it for a little while and then let it dry. So now I'm going to add some bling. So I have had these for so long. I've had these for about 5 years and I hardly ever use them. So I want to use them on these projects now. So I'm just finding some interesting shapes. These are already at heat. They've got glue at the end on the back. They're glue backed sequins and things, bling. So I'm just adding a selection to make it a little bit more shiny, because I like shiny things. So that's finished now, and that's one I made earlier. That I put glitter around the edge of that inner heart, and this one I put glitter on the strip. And this is one that's quite similar to the one we just made. So I've made a few, and they look gorgeous on the shelf. They're so lovely. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you have a go at making them yourself.